I'm recording.
Uh-huh.
Hey guys, welcome back to Cold Country Homestead. And this is probably my second edition now of ambushing Zachary for a chat at our island table. um, so we are gonna have a short chat about seeds. I have completely ambushed him, so this is all impromptu. And as you hear, we have some noisy doggies as usual.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so it's that time of year where everyone is dreaming about their gardens, right? People who have gardened forever, newbies, everyone is dreaming, and seeds are like at the top.
Okay.
I hit record and the house goes crazy, and all of the dogs are noisy.
Okay. Settle down. Settle down.
All right, Hunter boy. Okay. So seeds are at the top of everyone's mind right now, placing their orders, going through their hauls, figuring out when to start them, right? So all of these things are at top of mind. And I thought we could pick Zachary's brain for a few minutes because, as I always joke, semi seriously, I am the farmer's assistant. I do the paperwork and I do the preserving. He's typically the one who does the farming, the gardening. So let's talk about how we do this, right? So we have here our seeds, cute little binders with all of our seeds in them. We have them separated into categories like root vegetables, cabbage, broccoli, corn. We have a separate one for like peppers and tomatoes. I mean, we have, and we need to expand because all of these get organized and categorized and tidied up at the beginning of the season after we do all of our big seed orders. But in between that time, I always do some kind of like, if I see seeds on clearance somewhere, like I'm the bargain shopper. So like these I found at our local Dollar General for 90% off. So I bought a lot. And then we had our little haul from the PA Farm Show. So these all need to get organized, and that's part of what we're going to do tonight, or what Zachary thought we were sitting down to do. But we will organize them, and then we're going to continue on with our seed orders. And we did go through last night. I'll be sure I should put that in the beginning of this video for you all. But we went through last night and we did a list of things to order. This one happens to be for MI Gardener. We submitted our order there today. There were quite a few things that we got that we've never seen before that were really cool, and also some things that we wanted but were sold out. So it's quickly approaching. I mean, everyone is getting their seed orders, and it's time.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a little bit too late. Honestly, I mean, last year we wanted to do this earlier, like in the very beginning of the year, and we obviously waited too long again. Last year we also were unable to get a bunch of different varieties that we were looking to get because they were sold out already. And when we went to MI Gardner's website, I mean, as you can see here, the things that are highlighted, if you can see, those are the things that we actually could get, and the things that aren't highlighted are the things that were already sold out.
I mean, they still have a really good selection, and
Yeah,
I think that their prices are more than affordable. I'm excited to do a haul when we do get all of the seeds. They do have a lot of variety, and I know that they work to restock things even if they are sold out. So certainly don't count them out. I think they're a very good first starting resource, especially like they're a small business. Um, I couldn't believe how affordable their packets were.
yeah, I was really surprised at the variety selection that they had, and the price was it's pretty much better than anywhere else you can get seeds, and the varieties were stuff that we're looking for and things that we haven't even seen before. So
Mhm.
we were really happy with MI Gardner's
Yeah.
selection.
And I mean, if you're like looking at our video to look for like a code for discounts anywhere or anything, you're not going to find that with us. We're not affiliated with anyone yet. Maybe one day. We're certainly open to it, but we're not affiliated with anyone. So we're just going to give you our honest opinions of everything. And I think something important that I really want to note with like seeds is not being scared of your like dollar store seeds and like your cheaper seeds. Like Zachary is more of a like purist perfectionist, and I will always be more like a good enough is good enough. So we're very like yin and yang. However, we've seen in the past where we've purchased, dollar store seeds and we've done really well with them. A lot of seed sellers, the Baker Creek, MI Gardner, Seed Savers Exchange, American Seeds, Burpee, like they all list, non GMO. There's no home gardener in the USA that can buy GMO seeds. It's not that it's like
Yeah.
a marketing ploy. I think just everyone is worried about GMO. So they are consistently asked. And so, like, they just put it like right out in front. But if you're like really new to gardening, I mean, when we started, I didn't know that. I had no idea that in the USA you can't buy GMO seeds as a home gardener. You have to have special licensing and be commercial, and there's all these different things that go into it. So don't be scared to go try, especially if you're like on a tight budget and you go to like the Dollar Tree or the $1.25 now tree and buy some seeds there. Anything that you plant is better than planting nothing.
I think this the biggest thing for me with say like the dollar store seeds isn't that they're not good or viable, that they don't work. It's just who you're supporting when you buy these American seeds. American Seeds is Monsanto or Bayer company. So like in the recent years, that's why we've been looking for smaller seed companies like MI Gardner and Baker Creek that have heirloom seeds and that concentrate on getting seeds and being self-sufficient with their seeds, collecting, having their farmers collect their seeds and make their own varieties instead of a company like Monsanto or Bayer that is just pushing out,
Mass
just
produced, right?
mass produced
I mean,
seeds,
so obviously we want to give our voting dollars to those small mom and pop
Yeah.
companies, obviously. But at the same time, you still have to balance what's affordable, which, like I said, at my garden, I think are super affordable. But also for those people that are just, like struggling to get by, I can certainly relate. And I mean, I certainly didn't pass up buying all of these 90% off seeds. I wasn't leaving those in the store when I saw those. So you can always have a balance. I mean, we have seed packets that were upwards of $7 probably for a small packet. And then we have seeds where I paid like 2 cents for a packet when it was said and done. So it's a variety.
Yeah, and like we've come across a situation where like we've planted a variety from American Seeds and the same varieties from say Baker Creek or somewhere else, and we've had more germination with the American Seed variety, which I mean,
Yeah.
it just
So you never
you
know.
never know. Yeah.
If you can afford to buy the most expensive from the smallest mom and pop, like co-op or, tiny business, go for it. But if you can't afford it, then don't be scared. You're not going to hurt your family and do any damage by buying the cheaper seeds. Anything that you grow is going to be 100 times better than something that you're going to buy commercially farmed from the store.
Right.
There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah.
But I think we've talked enough about that whole ordeal. So, how would you say, and again, this is all completely off the cuff. He had no idea I was doing this. So, how would you say that we plan our garden?
I mean, I would say that you plan the garden 90%, as far as like, what goes where and how much of everything. That's 90% Sam. I'm more the one that kind of has the end say on the different varieties. Besides, like, the one thing that we take into the biggest account is like what Sam needs for canning. So whatever she knows that she did last year and she doesn't need this year. Like we have a whole bunch of what cowboy candy and hot sauces. So
Not
even
that we don't use it, but we just
right, but
can so much of
even
it.
though that's like one of my favorite things to grow is hot peppers. This year, I think I want to focus more on like hot spice peppers, like things that I'm going to dry and use for spice
And smoke.
and
Want to smoke
yeah,
some.
and maybe get a smoker going or something, and then things that we can use for cooking more than just like a hot sauce pepper. So we're gonna take that into account, and then like the biggest other thing would be like tomatoes, like what kind of paste tomatoes worked good for her, which ones didn't, which ones were the best producers. And then also like new varieties that we haven't seen yet that we read are good for sauces or canning and stuff like that. That's how we decide those two categories.
So I definitely agree with him that I am the planner and he is the dreamer when it comes to the garden. And I brought props here, so I'm gonna show you some things. This is our legitimate, like, this is like our dream book here of things that we've done in the garden, things that have worked for us, our layouts. And every garden season, and I hope that you're able to see this enough here, and I will try and do like more of this as we go in this year's. But this is, I don't even know if this was last year or the year before, but everything that we plant, every single thing that goes in the ground, whether we're starting from seed, whether we're doing starts, I assign it a code. Like down here, for example, like BS1, that would be like a beef steak one, um, so a type of tomato that we planted. And then I would reference that back to the seeds that we started, which we'll get to that, the seeds that we started, and I will know exactly what that plant is. So these are 3 rows in our garden, and I can tell you exactly where what was planted. So if we walk through the garden and we see that a plant died, I know exactly what we need to replace. Or if we have an opening where we can put a start that I happened to pick up as I was out driving. Uh, so we always backfill if anything
Right.
shouldn't survive being transplanted. And we have a pretty late frost date. I mean, where we are located, you really don't want to plant anything outside typically until like
Before
Mother's
Mother's Day.
Day. That's
Yeah.
like the Mother's Day. So I plan where each thing is. I know how many we plan to plant of each thing, and then there's that. But with seeds, we start all of our seeds on certain days, and I do a calendar layout of when we need to start things, how many we're going to start of each thing, and then we have, like I said, a code assigned to each thing. I put on this, you probably are not able to see it, what the plan is, the date that we planted it, the number planted, and I do a notes. And in the notes tells me where the seed was from. So like, for example, the first one I pick up here, like burpee. So I would put like a code for burpee and then what it was. So like this would be like a Connecticut field pumpkin. And then I would assign that a code. And from there, it tracks with it from the time it's planted, seed started, till it's planted outside until I harvest it. So we know exactly what we have. And we are going to be better this year at documenting what our harvest is of each thing. But I also make a chart of our actual seed starting trays. So I know in the tray where's what, how many's planted, all of that.
And this works really good for the system that we have right now because we actually use soil blocks, which are exactly, 5 across and what is that, 10 or 11 down?
I think it's 10. 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's 50 per
50
tray.
per tray.
And what kind of blocks are our trays? Are they bootstrap? Is that
Yeah,
what they
we
are?
got the Bootstrap Farmer color coded trays. So they have they're a double tray. So you have the mesh one with the holes in the top, and then the enclosed one on the bottom, and that's so that I could bottom water easy. And I just pick up the top tray with the plants on it and water underneath it, put it back down, and that's what we did last year, and that ended up working a lot better than the year before. So we're still trying to make, the whole process as streamlined and easy as possible because it takes a lot. I mean, it takes a lot out of me to do all this
And there's nothing high tech about what we do. Like we don't have
no,
like official like grow lights or
no. And
things like that.
when we start doing it, I'll show you the whole setup that we have and what's been working for us. But basically, I just use a big wire rack that we got at Lowe's or Home Depot.
Think of like the muscle rack style shelving units.
Yeah. So it's like a 2 foot deep by 4 foot wide, and that fits 4 trays on it on one shelf. And then I have 3 lights per shelf. And I just got the LED lights, shop lights from Walmart, and they take the plants, all the way until I need to transplant them outside, and they do just fine.
And just looking back, like at last year's, I think we started about 10 trays. Well, I think we only had 10 trays, and then we did some other things as well. But we start all of those, and then we start those from seeds, but we also buy starts. There are things that I mean, we can't go anywhere at the beginning of garden season and pass a roadside stand or hear that there's a plant sale or seedling sale or anything without going. So we're not just strictly seeds. And I don't feel, again, I'm the farmer assistant. Like I don't feel like we have a huge growing season where we live either. Like we have
I mean, it's pretty long. I mean, compared to some places, it's decent.
it seems so short to me.
I mean, it goes really fast. It does, but it's definitely one of the longer ones. I mean, it's a medium growing season.
Yeah.
Compared to some people, but.
So, I mean, for our planning, we definitely, I mean, like we plan where we are planting everything, but I think we kind of like work backwards. Like we pick all of the seeds that we're interested in, and I mean, like this is all the seeds that we have right now. We don't necessarily even need to order seeds, but how could we not order seeds? So, if we had to just start with this, I think we would be okay. But from the point where we order seeds and figure out like what rows we want to put what, then we kind of backtrack to figure out how many of each thing that we should plant, and what our goals are with each of those things. So if our goal is to have a ton of tomatoes for sauce preserving, canning, I'm going to plant more paste tomatoes than I am cherry tomatoes or globe tomatoes or beefsteak tomatoes. Even though, I mean, I will absolutely use those other things and do a variety of my pack, but to get the most bang for my buck and my hours and time preserving, I want more paste tomatoes for preserving the sauce.
Right.
And salsas. But I mean, we always do our best with whatever it is that we're harvesting, but we definitely look at those end goals of what we want before we say I'm going to plant 100 of this or 2 of that or whatever.
Right. Yeah. So like, and last year we had what I would call like a really difficult tomato and pepper season.
I think a lot of people did.
Yeah, I heard a lot of stories of tomato blight, and it was the first year ever that we got it. We had early blight, and I sprayed them down with the copper fungicide, and it seemed to help for a little bit. But I think I just needed to do it like every week to be able to keep up with it, and I just didn't. So we ended up getting like a first round of crop, and then that was it. Like
we had some trickling.
Yeah, there was a couple plants that seemed more resistant than others, but I'd say for the most part, 90% of the tomatoes, once the first crop came in and it was like a smaller crop than normal, then they were done blooming. Like that was it. And
it was tough. And
yeah,
I mean, you're gonna have years like that. You're gonna have years where like you're up to your ears in tomatoes, and then you're gonna have years where you're struggling to get anything. One of our first garden years, we had so many cucumbers, didn't know what to do with them. Last year, we barely had any
yeah,
cucumbers.
last year was another hard year for cucumbers. So like that's one thing that we're gonna try to do better on this year, and we're gonna have, you know, I'm gonna move them into a different spot, and then hopefully that'll help.
Yeah.
But I mean, even planting like succession of cucumbers, you know, you can do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to like note a few things. So if you're new to us, if you're new to our channel, and tons of people are because we're new. I mean, our channel's less than a month old. So it's important to note a few things. Like we're a family of 6. I preserve a ton. We work full time outside of our home. We're not on our home in our home all the time, 24/7. I mean,
Right.
we have jobs. Um, I canned over 1,000 jars last year. We still will support local farmers and produce stands, and there's no shame in my game of purchasing produce to feed my family if I'm struggling in my garden. But we do our best to preserve. We live on less than an acre of property, and our total garden is probably a quarter acre of all of our,
Not even that. I mean, it's
of,
like 5,000 square feet.
but of
So,
all of our garden areas. Like we have multiple garden areas.
oh yeah.
So we have our main like farm garden that we've called it. We have then, would that be called like a potager garden? The secret garden.
Yeah.
We have a kitchen garden, which is where I have like all of the herbs and berries, and it's just a pretty area, really. We do raised bed, we do in ground, we have trees that we've planted. So we have lots of different things in the works. But we've been doing this for what, 3 years roughly, that we've really been,
Here.
yeah.
Yeah, where we've transformed this
Yeah.
property. Yeah.
And all of that came to be because we were putting a pool in our yard, and Zachary did all of the excavating and everything. And so we had all of this property after the excavating and all of the land dirt that needed to be moved and change the complete slope and layout of our yard, that we were like, well, what are we going to do with this space? And so here we are. But all of that to say, like, we're still learning. We're still new. I mean, we have learned a lot in our time, but they do say that any like real garden space that you have takes at least 3 years, right?
3 to 5 years. Yeah.
So 3 to 5 years to really get it established and hone in what your soil needs and make your amendments and your improvements. And that's really like Zachary's department. I don't really understand all of that. But even with the little bit of knowledge that I had going into it, pretty much none, and the knowledge that Zachary had, over 1,000 jars last year, canned and fresh eating and supplementing our animals with our stuff. I mean, you can do a lot with a little bit of space.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think we did really well the first year that we really got the garden going, and that's pretty much where those 1,000 jars came from. Was the first round.
No, the first year, I'm not even counting the first year. Last year alone was over 1,000 jars.
Oh, so just off of last year's garden. Oh, huh.
I do the preserving, he does the farming.
Yeah, I thought it was the other way around.
No.
So what do we do with all the stuff the first year?
I mean, in total at this point, I've canned over 2,000 jars. I mean, and we will can, if you haven't already seen it, you should go watch our pantry tour, where I do go through everything that has been canned, that we still have had on our shelves at that point, and I tell you what it is, how to use it, how we use it, what our favorite things are. It's definitely worth a watch. But it's our full pantry tour. But apparently, I need to give Zachary a pantry tour. Oh yeah.
Well, I guess we sold a lot of the stuff the first
We did
year.
do a farm stand. It was like a pop up um, community event, and we did it like right at our property, and we did really well. And we just like reinvested the funds into our seeds and putting it right back in. I mean, anytime that you go from not doing this to jumping in and gardening and preserving, there's an investment. It took a lot to just amass the jars that we have. And I have scrolled Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist and places that Zachary has visited for work where they were selling jars. I mean, we've gotten jars in the most random places. And there is no shame in my game for that either. You can bring me the crustiest jars home and I will clean them and find a way to make sure that they're okay, no cracks or anything, and and we use them. So don't be scared either to get scrappy and find different ways to look for stuff. I mean, even if you put like an ad out on Marketplace that you're looking for jars, some people want to get rid of them. I haven't been that lucky, but look for sales and clearances, and it happens. So you're gonna have to invest some, but you can start little by little, and that's really like how I did with the jars. Is each time I would go to the store, if I had a few extra dollars, I would grab a case of jars, and I will still do that now. If I'm out at the store and I see that they're a decent price, I'll grab an extra case of jars and have them, because you can never have enough jars once you start doing this. And it is a constant like balance of, I have some jars drying right now that need to get put back on my empty shelf, but you will constantly be reusing them and build up your stores of your lids, your flats too, because you want to try to work to a point where you have enough for the next season in this season. So you're constantly buying like a year ahead. So there's a lot of planning that goes into all of this. And what is it, foresight? You really want to be like looking towards the future. And a lot of homesteading and gardening is the dream of the future. If you're planting seeds, you're dreaming of the future. If you're planning on preserving something, you're dreaming of the future. Some things that you preserve, you wait a few weeks before you can even have them. So I could talk a while about preserving, but I kind of got off on a tangent because we're supposed to be talking about gardening. So that's kind of how we plan our gardens. We kind of work backwards, but we definitely do still, just dream and buy some things that, we looked at our list today of things that we submitted an order for and went through our binder and we're like, oh, well, we had one of those, but can never have enough seeds.
Yeah, and I think that's like one of the things that I'd like to work on this year is to get a better idea of like what we actually have, because what I noticed this year was that seed prices have went up like a substantial amount for some
Mm-hmm.
places. I mean, I saw some companies that are selling for like $3, $4, $5, $6, $7, $8 even.
Well, and the cost of everything has gone up. I mean, we all know that too, but it hurts the little people,
Yeah,
the
and I
things that
mean
can't.
when you're ordering 100 different things and they're all $3 a piece,
It adds
that's
up quick.
$300. Like that's crazy for seeds. I mean, spending 100 something dollars on seeds, like that's a decent hit out of somebody's pocket.
Mm-hmm.
So
But there
to
are other resources too where you can get seeds. I mean,
right, yeah, we should talk about that too.
you definitely want to look in your area for like extension offices and seed banks, your local libraries, a local garden swap. They're gonna hear you.
Sorry.
A local garden swap group. A homesteader group in your area. People may exchange seeds. People might be willing to give you something to get you started. I know we had offered to get like the Jerusalem artichoke, like tubers. Like sometimes people have such an abundant harvest of something and they're willing to share and have that community. But definitely like a seed bank. What else is it? It's not a co-op, but like a local college. Like for example, in Pennsylvania, there's Penn State, and they offer a seed distribution where they have a list of potential, seed offerings that they would have, and you can inquire. So there are resources out there. I know sometimes it can be taboo to even like talk about this type of topic, but if you are someone who is receiving SNAP, um, supplemental nutrition food stamps, I don't know what it's actually called, but if you're receiving that type of support, if you're someone who's currently in need, you can use those funds to purchase seeds because, and when I say seeds, I mean like vegetable seeds. I don't think they'll let you purchase flower seeds, but those seeds can then turn into food. So that's something that is allowed. And I didn't know that until recently. And I think that that's probably not really well known information. So if you're someone who really wants to get started and that's something that you do receive, that's something you can look into. I think you can even purchase live plants, vegetable plants. So there's lots of options. And if you have like old seeds laying around too, I mean, give them a try. The germination rate might not be as good, but
Yeah,
try.
I mean, as long as seeds are stored in a like decently cool, dry spot, they can last, for a pretty long time sometimes. But definitely Penn State University, and I would probably say, a good amount of states have an extension program with a free seed bank. I've heard it talked about many times before, but like Penn State's seed program, I think is one of the newer ones.
I think.
And our extension office where we're at, they started with like a really small list the first year that we found out about it, which was like 3 years ago, I think. And now, I mean, the list is a couple pages long.
Right. Well, and they get grants too, so those are they become funded sometimes.
Right, but they're just basically like they have seeds available from people that grow and save seeds, and then the whole idea behind it is for you to get the free seeds, but then also give back free seeds to them so that they can extend their seed bank.
Right. So it's a community thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I've kind of like thrown you under the bus to have this conversation. But do you think there's anything else important that we should know? I mean, okay, so answering for myself. We did our MI Gardener seed order. We also are going to be doing a Baker Creek seed order tonight. That's kind of what we were trying to get to here. We also plan on going to visit Roar Seeds. We have some things flagged there. They're located in Pennsylvania, so we feel like we definitely have to go support a local company and try them out. So I plan on doing some more video footage from that, hopefully. But there are so many seed companies out there. I mean, this is just our
We've only gotten a few so far this year.
Our few to look at.
There's probably 20 more different catalogs that are coming.
Yes. And we don't have, I don't know if MI Gardener has a physical catalog, but they have a great online catalog that we scrolled through. It had a lot of good information. And then there's always the beautiful Baker Creek seed catalog. I mean, who doesn't dream when you look at these and all of their different ideas, and there's just so much information that is at everyone's fingertips.
Yeah, and this is why I like places like Baker Creek and what we found out yesterday, MI Gardener, because their catalog, it just has so much information in it. I mean, for every variety, no matter what it is, it's just loaded with at least a full paragraph of information, like even where it came from sometimes, a different country or a story behind somebody's grandpa saved it in their freezer for 30 years or something like that. I mean, the stories in Baker Creek's catalog are just so interesting, and I just find so much value out of the experience I get with using Baker Creek. That's why they're my favorite.
It's like reading a novel when you open up their catalog.
Yeah.
It's like Christmas Day when you get the catalog in the mail.
But I mean, and the other thing is that the varieties that Baker Creek offers, that's the other thing that draws me to them. So like having those special and rare varieties, that's kind of like the lure that I get for gardening. You know, trying different heirloom varieties, and there's not a whole lot of places like that, but there is a few. I mean, last night when we looked at MI Gardeners, I mean, it was very similar, although it was online, but it was a very similar experience with the descriptions and the heirloom varieties, which I was really surprised at how good their variety and their prices were.
Right. But there's like just these have a wealth of knowledge in them. I mean, like this is Roar Seeds, their catalog, and in here they have a home garden planting chart for people who live in Zone 6. So most of Pennsylvania is Zone 6. So it tells you when is the best time to plant. It tells you the vegetable type, the seed, the when do you want to transplant your plants in rows, the spacing between rows, how many seeds or plants for a family of 5. Like there's a ton of information right here that saves you so much time from like searching each thing, and it's like a great reference. I mean, I'm going to keep this page specifically in our binder just because it's pertinent to our zone, and the Roar Seeds catalog didn't cost me anything.
Right.
So the information is there. Sometimes you have to dig for it.
Yeah, and that's the thing about some seed packets. You know, some companies have, you know, a lot of information on the back of their seed packet, and then other ones, you know, might not have that much, and that kind of, you know, draws or deters people based on, you know, how much information they get from the actual seed packet. Like that's one thing that I don't like about Baker Creek seed packets is that, yeah, I mean they're just,
I mean, they're beautiful.
yeah, they're in color and everything, but the information on the back is much more limited than most seed packets for some reason, which I would hope that they maybe work on that one day.
But they're still one of our favorites.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
So, but like storing them, like we use the binders, and then we have these inserts that hold 4 packets each. And we have found that this is the easiest way to see what we have at a quick glance, to keep them organized, to keep them neat, to keep them safe, not wet, not, you know, lost, not dropping seeds out of them. And like I said, it's like really quick to see what you have. You just
I think this is probably the best organizer that I've seen people use. I mean, I know a lot of people use the little craft bins from like Michael's. Yeah. But then again, you have to literally take each one out and go through it manually and out of the rubber band and go through them. You know, this way you got 4 at a shot right out of you, and then there's no, you know, going through them and then having a pile of just mismatched whatever. Like everything's organized.
Yeah.
By however you want to organize it, and then it's right there at a glance. So I think this works really well.
Yeah, I think so too. So we have to definitely get these organized, and the time is getting late. We both need to get to bed for work. So if someone were to tell, like if you were to give someone just one tiny quick piece of advice for how they're going to do their seeds, or how they're going to start the garden, or how they're going to do anything, what would you say?
Well, I would say get out a notebook and do it as good as you can the first time instead of just trying to wing it. You know, like any type of planning.
Says the man who wings it.
Yeah, I mean, from going from winging it to what we do now, like it just it takes all the stress out of well, it doesn't take all the stress out of it. Gardening is still a little bit stressful, but the whole process is just so much easier and so much more fulfilling and enjoyable to you if you have a plan and if it's written down. Like trying to just wing it and go willy-nilly is, it just ends up being a little bit stressful, and then you don't know what you have, you don't know what you planted, you don't know where anything is. It's just make a plan.
See, and this is why we are yin and yang, because my advice, well, I agree that this works for us, and this is sustainable, efficient, effective. It is all of those things. But I think for someone, me personally, because I came into this with like no knowledge of gardening and all of that, that would have been like really overwhelming to me in the beginning because I wouldn't have known how to do that. I wouldn't have known like what am I planting? I'm
Yeah.
planting seeds. Like what am I planting? So I think that yes, that's really important to have a plan, to know what you're planning, to keep track of it, to have a diagram, all of those things, because obviously to do it. But I think if you're just getting started and you're like on a really small scale and it seems really intimidating to you, my advice is to just do it. Whatever that looks like, however you're doing it, if you're tracking it, if you're not tracking it, like just start.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. Like if you're at that kind of point and you're just overwhelmed and you have no clue, if you're a super beginner and you just have no clue what you're doing whatsoever and you don't even know where to start, just get something into some dirt. Like
Yeah.
put some seeds in the dirt and see what happens. Like you like what Jess from Roots and Refuge said.
Oh, yeah.
You can't or
You're
what is
guaranteed,
it?
but it's like you're guaranteed to get nothing from any seeds that you don't plant.
Right.
Like if you find some old crusty seed packet in the back of your cabinet, put it in the ground. It's not going to hurt anything. You're not going to have nothing to show. I mean, you might have nothing to show, but if you don't plant it, you're definitely going to have nothing to show.
Right. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? It doesn't grow.
Yeah.
So try again.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the number one thing I think to do if you're just a beginner. Yeah. Just get something in the ground.
Yeah, because I would have definitely had like analysis paralysis. I would be like, but where do I go? What do I do? How do I do this? I don't know anything about soil. I don't know anything about what seeds I'm doing. I just want to grow some tomatoes. Like I would have been overwhelmed.
I think
because I'm a planner.
I think that's why like you and me work so well, because like that's kind of how I am. Like this is all analysis paralysis to me because I want it to be perfect, but I don't know how to implement those types of systems, manually like she does to make it work,
But I wouldn't have known how to do these systems had we not just started.
Right.
It takes experience. And I mean, that's the beauty of YouTube. That's the beauty of the internet. That's the beauty of all these things. Is you have these resources at your fingertips. But if you don't know, you don't know. If you don't know what you don't know, you really don't know. Right. So it's just getting started. So I hope if anything that this video maybe you're really an experienced gardener and you're like, you just don't know anything yet. And that's okay too. There's always more to learn. But if you have never gardened before, you're relatively new or you're feeling overwhelmed, I just hope that we've given you some encouragement to know that, you can do anything on any scale and make it work for you in some way, shape, or form. I will continue to try and bombard Zachary with these random impromptu sessions where I can get him to sit down at the kitchen island. Keeping him still very long is pretty hard. So I want to thank you all for watching our channel and for subscribing. And we're still so just unbelievably overwhelmed with the amount of support that we've received from everyone and that you're wanting to watch us in our kitchen. And it blows my mind. So I just thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys. We really appreciate all the support.
So, happy gardening, happy seeding, happy dreaming, and we'll see you next time.
See you on the next one.
Have a great week.